Hey guys, this will be video 4 for the how to restore. This is a 1981 Fender Stratocaster International Series Maui Blue. At one point, there's still a lot of Maui present in the grain, and it's a really cool player's guitar right now. But as I clarified in actually in the last video, it really has the potential to be a clear cut guitar as well. So for certain, before this video ends, and if anything, probably in the very front end, I'm going to be doing some tap tone work, and I'll be getting fairly brutal as far as like really going into it. So if you're wearing earbuds, you might want to either prepare to turn the volume down because I might forget to warn you when I'm going to start tapping, or either just take them out. So anyway, just be forewarned because it's taking on a very consistent tap tone, and the glue has not even dried 24 hours. It's this side over here, or I can't remember which side I did first. Let's see. That's fun. That's hilarious. I think I did this side. Yeah, I did this side first. This side right here has been drying for about 30 some odd hours. This side has been drying for about 16, and it's amazing. It's already taking on a beautiful, very balanced tap tone throughout the whole guitar. So the short there is she's back together. There are no cracks, or there's no, I call them crickets in there or anything. So it's ready to be turned into an incredible guitar. And in this video, I'm definitely going to do some mock-up with actual screws. I'm going to screw these down. This is the vintage pick guard. I think this is like what they call it, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, this is the 8. I think this is called the 11 or 10 or whatever. But regardless, I'm going to screw both of these down with the appropriate pick guard screws that I use for Gibson and for Fender, and those are actually stainless steel. And then I'll talk a little bit about Philip Kubicki, and that is from a Philip Kubicki neck that I had a very long time ago. And in case I forget, I actually called Kubicki International Enterprises, whatever it's called, out of the blue one day just to ask someone some questions there, and Philip answered the phone, and it was so cool. I talked to him for like 5 minutes about actually a Telecaster neck, but I thought that was so cool that he was extremely well-known builder, but he answers his own phones and was obviously there in the shop. He's passed a long time ago. But nonetheless, if you don't know who Philip Kubicki is, just go on eBay and do a search for a Philip Kubicki bass or Fender Stratocaster or a Telecaster, and they're off the charts expensive, very expensive. They're very valuable. Let's put it that way. And that's what I meant by these guitars are only going to increase in value. So with that said, I'll talk a little bit about neck options, and I'll even go into not necessarily obviously for this auction or anything, but just to let you know that you've got the option to go with like a beak neck or the Kramer type neck or something like that. So, or the traditional 50s, because the Philip Kubicki there that I have there was based on the 50s, and this is a very old Kramer that I had a long time ago. This would have been an 80, I think this was an 86 or something like that. It's a 1 3/4 inch wide nut, and was a phenomenal neck. So, and it's funny, I never knew how big the headstock was until I started comparing it to the when I started building the Explorer. It's about the same on the bottom, but it's just and this is basically a 58 Explorer right there. It's pitched more, and you can see how Kramer had there's a little bit more under control where it was pitched up a little bit to keep the strings from sweeping down too much. But so I say all that to say this. I love building those guitars, and I haven't built a Super Strat in a very long time. Well, I take that back. I'm actually building one right now that I haven't told anyone about, and I'm looking at it right now. So I probably will not be showing that one ever because it's a prototype of a custom guitar that is kind of based on the Prince Cloud. So very beautiful guitar. I may show it sometime, but we'll see. But back to this guitar, let's do some tap tone analysis of where it got glued up, because when I first started out, uh, this has been drying for about a day and a half maybe, and this has been drying for about 16 to 18 hours up here, and it's amazing. It started taking on a really beautiful tap tone just very quickly when I got out of the clamps this morning. And then I went ahead and after, because if you're here, you're interested in this guitar specifically. After I did all of this, this major repair up here, which I'm so incredibly happy with it. The tap tones are so beautiful, and as I said, very balanced and consistent. But then once I've made those repairs, it was time to saturate that superficial crack right there. And it was amazing. It really didn't take much CA glue at all. And that was going to be the testament to how serious the crack was. But when I started dropping CA glue in it, uh, it did wick in. I probably dropped maybe 7 to 10 drops, and it was a little puddle. So it was kind of just a surface crack. But none. Well, I say that. No, it actually did connect to. I think it did connect to that one, but because I had already repaired that with the tight bond, the bulk of the tight bond was able to penetrate all the way down. I know it penetrated all the way up to that point, but I intentionally left it out of that wall right there, and I intentionally left any glue out of that end so that after it was all said and done, I'll try to get this in the camera. It's hard to capture because of the shadows, and then that's got the, I don't think that's, I'm going to be able to get that. Yeah, there we go. I'm talking about this wall area right here was heavily saturated with CA glue. So she is strong as death right there. And I mean, it's amazing how much stronger it is. And as soon as I made that final repair, that was dry within about 30 minutes to an hour. It just immediately took on a real bright, consistent tap tone in the central part of the body. So she'll be a tone monster. Okay, so but still, it did not need a whole lot of CA glue in that joint right there, but it did get filled up. And I did do exactly what I said. I took the router and I basically just machined off the sealer. And then whatever that stuff is, man, it stinks. It's whatever it is. It's nasty. It almost smelled like a Tagenol or something. But nonetheless, that's it right there. But when I machined across it, I started to just leave it because it was still there, but it was just leveled. But then I went ahead and just took it about another, probably a 64th of an inch, just to get to the actual wood, and that's really beautiful. But you might be able to see it. There's still the visual there of the crack. But with that said, I'm not going to do any additional routing or epoxy in any sort of like the blind limba in order to conceal that, because by the time it gets the claw up here, and then it gets all your springs in here, and then you've got the block back here. It's all covered up, and you probably won't even notice it. Okay, so I'm not going to be doing any additional work in there. She's finished and ready to photograph. And as I had clarified on the front end, I'm not about to touch these and change them. And I'm not even going to make that repair right there until it sells and someone tells me what it is that they want to do it, because it's actually kind of cool. If this were the plate, I think the plate would go. It's frustrating. I mean, it's definitely going to show, but nonetheless, I can repair that for no charge if someone wants it repaired, or we can just leave it. It's irrelevant because it doesn't really affect the guitar. Okay, what else was I going to say? So all of that work is finished, And let's do some tap tone work first, and then I'll weigh the guitar if I can remember. If I forget, I don't want to waste time. It's roughly 5.5 pounds. It may be just a little bit under 5.5, but it's not 4.7 or anything like that. Because this is not a swamp ash. This would be a North American ash, which is why I brought up the whole Eddie Van Halen, the whole Bumblebee thing, because I'm pretty sure that's the type ash body that he used on that guitar. I think that would have been some of the Van Halen one sound, but I do know that he used his Ibanez Destroyer, which would be like a Carina Explorer knockoff or replica, copy, whatever you want to call it, on some of those tones. But nonetheless, the Ash and the Limba probably sound pretty similar. Okay, so let me reel myself in here and let's do some tap tone. And I'm just going to leave it sitting on this. I might, yeah, I will. I'll pick it up, but let's do this tap tone first. And I'm not going to stop and explain what I'm doing. I just want you to listen to the consistency throughout the entire body. And also, if you remember when I first started out, it sounded like a cardboard box up there because that whole center was separate. But now you can already tell it's carrying into the entire body. And when I tap that right there, I'm not just hearing that sound right there. I hear the whole guitar radiating, or the whole body radiating. So it's really awesome. So let's do the perimeter, and then I'll go down the middle. That right there, and these locations are so important. And it's a body, it's a single body now. So because you can hear just it's off the charts. I wasn't expecting it to be bright at all, but it's got a real I call it and I got this word from watching Tom Bukovac. He was talking about how the old vintage guitars, they have kind of a doinky tone to them, and that's kind of what he's talking about right there. It's kind of dark, but listen how beautiful. So consistent. And that's only been drying for 15 hours, 16 hours, that top part. And give it another day or two and it'll be even better. Okay, so I know that's annoying to a lot of you guys, but if you're considering buying a guitar, I wouldn't recommend going into any guitar shop with a screwdriver unless you tell them what it is you're wanting to do, and they'll probably tell you, well, you can as long as you put a piece of paper there or something like that. But just, if you've got a guitar body that's real old and is real dried out or something like that, it might be really beautiful, but it could even be like some of these glue joints could be separating. And if there's an issue at all, any sort of superficial crack even, you'll hear the change. All of a sudden, like this one was going thud, thud, thud on the front end, and now it's the most vocal part of the entire body. And hear how consistent it is. Okay, so that's where I'm going with this. You're looking for a consistent sound. If you've got a ding, 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 and all of a sudden thud, 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 then you can isolate it to that area and then determine what's causing it. Other than areas like this, it's going to sound considerably different. just because there's almost no wood there. Okay, so let's do some mock-up, and well, let me slow down. And I don't think there's really any point in showing the guitar because I've shown it enough, but just so that you can see the actual the glue repair. And let's just throw it under the bus as much as we can so it's not superficial, or the video is not superficial. I can see the repair there. I can definitely see the repair right there. But and I could sand this a little bit more and shape it, but I'm going to wait until till later and to find out what someone may want to do with it, or it may not sell, and I may end up keeping it, and then I'll make the determination. I know for a fact if I'm going to keep this body for myself, it's about to get shelved. I do know that, and the only reason I'm working on this body is because it's an incredible opportunity between the 15 or 20, 45 minutes each day that I work on Eric's Explorer doing the lacquer, nitrocellulose lacquer work, and I'm doing that work upstairs to keep the basement from stinking up. So while I'm in between working on his guitar, an hour a day or 2 hours a day, that's the reason I'm working on this project right here. But after that, I'm not going to start building this guitar. It's about to get shelved, and quite frankly, we're about to start building I'll call it like a 57, 58 Explorer replica for Ed, and it's going to be it'll be per the 58 specs, but it's going to be based on like a 57 gold top Les Paul with a gold top binding, P90s. It's going to have P90s in it, which are going to be really incredible. And I don't know if he's going to go with a black P90 or a parchment. I can't remember. But that's going to be free, and we're going to do trapezoid inlays in that guitar, rosewood fretboard. So that's the next guitar build that's about to go on. But meanwhile, let's do some mock-up with some pickguards here and see the difference between those two, and then we'll see it come together. Probably what I'll have to do is just I have excellent vision, but sometimes these magnifiers really help when you're looking at something from a long distance away. And also, this is a vintage 8-pattern pickguard. Let me loosen that one just a little bit so we can give it some slack to see if you were to consider changing over to an 8 screw pickguard. How much work, or how much would the 1981 locations line up with the vintage pickguard? And quite frankly, I would say I would go with I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. But you're about to find out that pretty much every one of them match up almost perfectly. I think there's only one or two that are not really matching up. That one's pretty close. That one's nowhere to be found because there's actually two on this one. Let's see, there's there's three. Wow, I was wrong. So there's one right there. There's one. Well, there's one right there, one right there, and one right there. Whereas there's only one in the middle on this, and there is not a screw hole right there. So you would have to drill a brand new location. But this one is, I'll say, close enough that. Let's see if, yeah, it actually will. It is actually leaning just a little bit. It's leaning that way just a little, but as you just saw, not enough to make a big difference. It's really beautiful. The black Brooklyn Sound Garage. I'll give you a shout out. I think that's the name of your channel. That's what I was trying to think of. yesterday, and it's so funny because he had chimed in while I was uploading video 3, and he made the statement that a blackguard would look really awesome on there and just leave the body natural, but definitely do. I don't know if I got a rosewood fretboard. I've got one over here. Let's grab this one. Sorry. I don't have a rosewood fretboard out, but I don't have one that has oil on it. Yeah, everything I've got, sorry guys, everything I've got that is rosewood is, it's raw wood, and it would not, in other words, it's like light brown until you oil it, but basically, now that's an ebony, but you can see like a dark rosewood fretboard with the black. Let me stop because I'm digressing too much. Let me get back on point and just show what's in front of you, because you guys know what it is you want or don't want. And I have pickguard material. I have black material as well as a parchment white that is a 3-ply. And I would recommend just going with one off the shelf, because I ordered this from, there's a company on eBay that sells these. They're really affordable. I'm sure they're replicas, but man, they're spot on. And they're good little pickguards. I think $15 maybe. Can't beat that. Okay, so let me slow down, because I might use that as like the screenshot or something. But nonetheless, it's really, really, really beautiful. So the Vintage 8, you would have to re-drill that one, and you would have to drill a brand new hole right there. But these 3 up here they're perfect. I had mentioned briefly that the last Strat that I did, it was a clear coat body, and it was amber. It was like a vintage amber. And I'm not going to start talking about that guitar, but I had made the statement that I haven't worked on a Strat in a long time. That's not correct. That Strat, I restored that Strat about 6 years ago, 5.5 years ago, and sold that to a guy out in California. And it was so cool, bless his heart, man. He was so excited. He was like, I think he was in his late 60s, and he had never bought like a really quality guitar, and he wanted off of eBay. It was basically identical to this. It was an ash Strat body, but I had no idea what age it was. Wouldn't doubt it if it was probably a 70s or 80s body, but I built a custom neck for it, and then I used this Philip Kubicki headstock profile, and basically just built like a 50s replica, but natural, and shot it in the amber. And man, it was a tough call. I almost went with the black, but I found some really, really stunning authentic celluloid. I think it was about $125 just for the sheet, but oh man, was it ever worth it, because it was just stunning. So I say that to say this: either the celluloid, and even just this. This is just a cheap $15. This is pretty chintzy looking, but you can get the brown tortoise, which is pretty attractive. This is the red, and I only bought this. I bought this off eBay just for this right here, for just video purposes and just general conversation and stuff like that. But this one I think has the 10 or 11. Whatever the count is, we're about to find out. But you could not go wrong with either one of these. And I wish I could remember that man's name. But he was so excited, and it had the I just said it had the brown celluloid pickguard, and I bought a vintage replica Cluson 50s specs tremolo, and It really was a very affordable build too. It wasn't very expensive, so I'm not going to try to force these in. I don't think the rest of these line up very well. That one lines up perfectly. That one, no, it's better than I realized. Let me go ahead and do this because if you're, let me pause briefly. Okay, again, this is not a true authentic Fender pickguard because these two are not lining up very well, and most of these down here they went in on a bit of an angle, and I thought I missed one, but that's the actual pickup. But again, the tortoise is beautiful. I don't think you could go wrong with this body, and you could never go wrong with a parchment white or just or when I say white, like a I guess you could get a solid white or a solid black. So that's what I meant by once it all starts going back together, you forget that it was a repaired body very quickly. Okay. Um, and I learned something from Eric. It's really cool. When I restored his SG, uh, we were whatever the dilemma was. Something about the strength of the stabilizing the pickups in the plastic pickup pick guard. He was talking about, oh, you could just put the Les Paul surround or the PAF surround around it, and then put that machine out the pick guard, and just screw that directly to the pick guard. And I was like, I can't believe I've never thought about doing that. That's embarrassing that I did not know that. But if you wanted to, you could do a humbucker like that. I don't know why I brought that up, but nonetheless, oh, I know what it was because I wasn't exactly certain what's going to happen right here, and I'm not going to do any of that machine work. I don't believe um, until we know whether someone's wanting to take it back to the three single coils or just one humbucker and maybe just flat up here. But I am fairly confident that it's much more affordable to just buy the pickguard uh, pre-machined per whatever layout you want rather than me pulling this pickguard material out and doing a custom guard. But I can do that if I had to. Okay, so I'm gonna probably shouldn't take too long to take this off. And again, I really have no idea what else to talk about in this video other than just off the cuff stuff. And mock up so that you could see the actual guitar in just raw form. I'm not going to do any clear coat work. I'm not going to do any sealing in the event someone wants to strip it down to just real clean bare wood and do a nitrocellulose, not nitrocellulose, an actual trans tint stain. Like someone might want to stain this thing, cobalt blue, and then shoot it with 20 coats of lacquer. And if I seal this wood that is, it's very, probably like, probably 75% of this body, if not 80% of this body is already completely raw and would receive stain incredibly well. But if I came in here with some nitrocellulose lacquer and sealed the whole body, then you'd have to strip that crap off in order to do any sort of rubbed on stain. So the fact that Kit or whomever did the strip work on here did just that. They actually accomplished that job. Whoever did that strip work, they did an incredible job. And the body, that's what I meant by, that was one of the primary reasons I even bid on it, because all these original contour lines are present. You can even see like the flat right there that goes into the real beautiful, compound curve here, and then it stops right here. None of this has been sanded off. And if you're truly knowledgeable about stuff like that, that's pretty rare, especially after it's been stripped and sanded and painted like 5 or 10 times over the 44-year period. It's amazing that this body is still intact. Talking about contours and original design, like that little hook right there. Okay, and the fact that this has not been, messed with. That's one of the primary reasons that I put it back together with a tight bond, so I would not have to cut it in half. Okay, so I hope you guys, if anything, understand uh, how much it takes to pull something like this off, but also why it's worth. Well, I've already done it. You've already heard it. It's just it's hard to get in there. That's that's just insane. That's a great tap tone. And can you pull that off with a new wood? Yes, absolutely. And that wood would be blonde limba. You can pull that off with blonde limba, but when I built the first Explorer replica out of quarter sawn blonde limba, I paid almost $500 just for the wood. So that's what I meant by, yes, you could achieve that tone, but you're going to pay an enormous amount of money to buy a quality wood to do that. Now this is a black limba Explorer per 58 specs, and we'll do some tap tone on here to let you hear how it sounds. But it's got a very doinky sound as well. But just listen to that. So this guitar would eat this one alive, but you got to spend a lot of money on your wood in order to do that or to achieve that. And the lighter the color in the wood for the limba, the blonde, the more pure the wood is. So anyway, it sounds incredible. Okay, no sense in really talking about necks too much because necks are just necks. Oh, and one of the main reasons I started this video, and I may have to mix up some more epoxy because I started making this epoxy mix. Wow, I spent at least, no, actually this is perfect. So this is absolutely perfect. I probably have about another 10 minutes to work with this epoxy, and that's one of the reasons why I decided to do this video is I've got to epoxy that little devil right there back in place. So we're going to do that in real time and then clamp her up, and then it'll be back together. So let me pause, get a cloth with some acetone. Okay, I had clarified in probably the first video that I still had this little piece right here, the tilt mechanism, and I saturated that with a little bit of oil, and it's working perfectly well. The little Allen head slot is still really good, so it will definitely ship with that, but I probably won't install it. But nonetheless, it's all intact, but I don't have the original screws. They were not in there, and I don't want to put that in there because I'm getting ready to do the epoxy, and I may have a little bit of spillover, but I do have that. It's not frozen up or any of that crap. So let's do some epoxy work here. And before I fired up the video, I took a Q-tip and cleaned all this with acetone. The reason I wanted to epoxy this is because somewhere in the past, this did get some black in there. And so that might have just been, see, that might not be paint. I'm not going to start talking about electrolysis, but if you have any sort of ground issue and anything that is wood and gets moist, and then there's current either going to that item or being drawn from that item, you'll get a black, chalky charcoal look like that called electrolysis, and it wouldn't surprise me if that's electrolysis or something. And it might have been because of that metal piece right there was being a dissimilar, like dissimilar metals will actually attack each other. Like aluminum will attack stainless steel, or or wood, like wet wood will attack regular steel. So it very well could be that there was some electrolysis issues going on right there, where uh, the the wood was arguing with that little metal medallion right there, because there might have been a ground issue in the body or something. So with that said, didn't want to take any chances. I'm going to epoxy this in. So I'm glad I got to go off the cuff there talking about electrolysis, and I've never once heard a guitar, anyone related to guitar repair work, talk about electrolysis. And I learned that from restoring a 1973 Post Sport Fisher yacht, a 40-foot, big 40-foot long Sport Fisher down in Fort Lauderdale. It's an all cedar hull boat, so boats in saltwater and then connected to shore power. You got major potential for electrolysis in dissimilar materials like aluminum gas tanks, wooden frames, stuff like that. So I had to learn all about that type of stuff in order to make the appropriate repairs. And that's where I got so good at working with the epoxy, is restoring that vintage boat and meeting some incredibly intelligent restoration pros in South Florida. And I got to actually work on some really extremely high-end multi-million-dollar yachts, where I did some cabinet work in some of them, and didn't really want to get into that because I was kind of burnt out on woodwork at that point in life, because I was actually building marine engines. So if you go to the very beginning of this my YouTube channel, initially it was called Tiki Hut Machine Shop, and I've got, I don't know, maybe 20 or 30 videos of there, where I was down in South Florida and over in Marco Island. In other words, between the Gulf sides of the ocean and the Pacific, the Atlantic side. Fort Lauderdale, Key West, all through the Keys, all up and down the East Coast, Jupiter, Boca Raton, um, and then over to Marco. And I was building marine engines, and that's where I started my YouTube channel. I was like, no, if anything, this is awesome. I'll just build these marine engines, but I'll video the work, because a lot of my clients, they were international. They were living in South America, and it was difficult for them to communicate with what I was doing, or if I needed to charge them for something, I would make a video, and they might be in Curacao, or I think it's called Curacao, in South America, and they could watch a YouTube video, and then they'd send me a check. So it was all about communicating that, yes, I'm working on your $1 million yacht, building the engines, or your $50,000 yacht. They weren't all high-end stuff, but that's where I got the idea to do this YouTube channel, building guitars. So, and then I'm not going to show this on camera, but what I'm going to be doing is obviously pressing this down. Let me check the time. Yeah, it's only 39 minutes. It's amazing. And what's really amazing is I did start this video, but I've only got like 30 seconds into it, and I stopped and paused and backed up and punted and started over. But fortunately, I only had to make this video. I'll just say it's a one-shot video. So a lot of times when I do these videos, the video you see, I will have already done 2 videos that were 15 or 20 minutes long, and I realized I just wasn't on point. And I'll stop and then completely start over. When I first started doing the videos, I was really good about having a checklist that I just worked from, and I probably should do that, but I like just going off the cuff, and I do not edit anything. I want to press record, and if I go off the rails, if anything, I'll just pause and get myself back on track, and then. But I've never edited anything, any video that I've ever done. But when I first started my YouTube channel as Tiki Hut Machine Shop, uh, when I was talking about Marco Island, Florida, it was so cool. That was probably one of the most gentlemanly men I've ever met in my entire life. He was such a gentleman, and I can't remember his name, but he had a really beautiful boat in Marco Island. And when he saw the YouTube series, because he was South African, and is that right? Yeah, he was from South Africa. But so he would be in the States at some point, and then he'd be in South Africa, and he was an actual corporate pilot. He flew the large jets, and but when he was young, he flew fighter jets in the South African military. But his brother was a like upper echelon general manager for, we'll say, like the Boeing of South Africa. And he said, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to show your video series to my brother because they do maintenance on these multi mega $1 million jets, and they need to do exactly what you're doing so their clients in Saudi Arabia or pick your Japan, all over the world can see the work that they're doing as it's going together." And it's for liability purposes. They can actually see that a particular item got installed within a jet engine. And I thought, how cool that that my little YouTube channel instigated the possibility for a major multi-million-dollar company to start following that protocol. And it worked. So and I built both of the engines in his boat, and he basically told me, anytime you want to come to Marco Island and take the boat out, it's yours. It's your boat. And I never took him up on it. I finished the job, got paid, and never saw him again. But he was a good man. There's some great people in South Florida, and they were from all over the world, man. Made friends from Russia, met some really beautiful women from all over South America, Brazil, Colombia. Wonderful, wonderful people. And anyway, so what's going to happen here is I kind of set up a little system right here where I'll just be sliding this over, and then I'll just be going into it. But I don't want to do this until I'm truly ready, because I want that epoxy to tack a little bit. And you have to be real careful with epoxy, because this stuff is really bad about creeping, and you might clamp it down and it'll be in the correct location, and you come back any point time later on and it literally has like slid out or slid in. So you got to be real careful with that. But I thought it would be great to tie the body back together with the epoxy right there. And quite frankly, it really wouldn't even need to be clamped. I could just push it into place and just and as long as you don't put clamping pressure on it, it won't creep. I say that it might swell, and try to like raise up. So I'll probably put a little bit of clamping force on it in about 30 minutes or so. But nonetheless, I appreciate you guys dropping in. Should make a phenomenal Van Halen 1 guitar. And I'm not kidding there. If you ever wanted the opportunity to achieve that tone, that this body is probably a great part of that sound, that great part of that sound. And I think you could check Pete Thorne, his channel. He has an ash body where after Edward Van Halen passed away, he and Friedman did a shootout where they were doing like pickup analysis and stuff like that. And Pete pulled out a guitar that he bought off of eBay that somebody kind of like me had built, and it was a basically identical to the Bumblebee design. It was the heavier North American ash body, maple neck, probably had a maple fretboard, and then because and Pete went into this real deep dive about the importance of the tone of that body and how with the Mighty Mite pickup, I think is what they ended up agreeing on, was so close to Eddie's signature sound on that album, and that's what I meant by this would be the body to help you get in that go start moving in that direction if that was the type of guitar you were going to build. So going once, going twice. I don't see anything. I talked about the medallion, and there's nothing else over here to talk about. So I appreciate you guys dropping in, and I probably won't do another video related to this one until it's either sold or not sold. And then regardless, that's why I brought up this guitar is not going to be taking precedence over Eric's 81 Explorer or Ed's, we'll call it a 57, 58 Gold Top Explorer replica with P90s, because that's going to be an absolutely killer guitar as well. So appreciate you guys dropping in, and I'll see you in the next video fairly soon. The next video will probably be me with the shop cleaned up with 1958 Explorer replica footprints, drawings on the table, and we'll be talking about the design and layout in order to start building Ed's guitar with P90s and how you can use Stuart McDonald templates that are machined for P90s to go right up the center of any footprint and build just that, a 57 Les Paul or a Junior, or in our case, a 58 Explorer replica with P90s, which is and a gold top. It'd be a gold top with I don't have any binding over there. Pretty much out of my parchment binding. I got to get some more binding, but it'll have parchment binding on the body. That's going to be a very, very cool guitar. So appreciate you guys dropping in, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.